Building a place where everyone can belong. Thank you. They disappeared. They transcended. What a beautiful thought, what a beautiful idea, and we're doing it. You know, today's topic, as was mentioned, is about tasting non-duality, non-dualism. What would it taste like to you? That's a chapter in Julian's book, Matthew's book, Tasting Non-Dualism. What does that taste like? Tastes pretty yummy to me. Because let's first of all see what it's not. Dualism is created in the mind. It's a creation of our mind. We create things, we separate things to be opposing, opposites, so we can understand them. It's not a bad thing. We create with the separation just for understanding. But it's not a way to live. It's a way to understand and to know. But non-dualism, how we would say it, is the main tenet of our teaching. It's oneness. God is all there is, and all things are one, and participate together in that oneness. That's how we would describe it. Julian of Norwich, now I told you a few weeks ago, she created a new word in English, enjoy, E-N-J-O-Y, but it's different than the enjoy we use right now, a little bit different. We say, oh, I enjoy this, I would enjoy to do that. Her enjoy meant giving joy, sharing joy, being in joy yourself, of course, but sharing that with others. She created a new word in English, another new word. It's oneing, O-N-E-I-N-G. Oneing. She said when we were created, we were knit and oned, O-N-E-D, oned to God. We're all in this oneness. So it's the same oneness understanding. We are created in oneness. We all come from this one power we call God. You know, she was not the first thing to say something like that. In the Gospel of Thomas, that Gospel of Thomas 22, Jesus says, when you make the two into one, when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and the male and female into a single one, then you can enter the kingdom of heaven, which you can call the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, whatever you want. I call it love. I call it peace. I call it harmony. I call it joy. It's a place I want to be, and I'd like us all to be there together. But that's kind of the thing, the oneing. Now in human form, now think about this. When we came into human form, we came from the allness, the unitive world of God. And if I could have the picture, this is just a visual of understanding the pairs of opposites that we've created for understanding. So we start right up there at the top, the point of God, right? The oneness, it's all there. Now there's still that one power, but coming to earth, we come to earth and we have free choice. Don't you love that? Wouldn't it be boring if you just opened your cupboard and you had all the same can of soup there? Or all the same box of whatever that Mary was talking about. We wouldn't have all those choices, Mary. If everything was the same, how boring it would be. Or your spice cabinet and you only had salt. I mean, it would be so boring. So we come here and we get to use the power creatively. In unity, that's at the top of the triangle, there is diversity. We get to choose how we are going to use that power. And what we call being alive is using the power to its fullness at the time. It's always evolving. But what we call evil is live spelled backwards, E-V-I-L, evil. It's just that we're not using the same power for the benefit, for the goodness of ourselves and others. But it's all the same. So today it's about getting the understanding of that there is really no duality. There are pairs of opposites for our own understanding. Ernest Holmes said the biggest chief error in our human thought is the belief in duality. He's not the first one to say this. In the 6th century BC, that was a really long time ago. Lao Tzu said, the trap of duality is tenacious. It keeps us bound, rigid, and trapped where you cannot experience liberation or freedom. How bound, rigid, and trapped are you in being right? Really quiet. Do you love to be right? Yes, we do. We love to be right sometimes, but we have to really expand our thinking from either change our view from the my way or the highway, either or, to both and. Think what that does to your heart and your mind. If you can open it and think both and. Oh, okay. We're just different ends of the pole, different ends of the spectrum, different ends of just energy, different ways we're using it. You know, it's interesting because when Julian was asked, well, how do we do this oneing thing? How do we get to the place of oneing, knowing that we are one with all of this? How do we get there? And she said, it's about breakthroughs. She agreed with Meister Eckhart. Actually, I think Meister Eckhart was a little bit before. They didn't know each other, but he talked about breakthroughs too. And he said he was constantly working on breakthroughs, breaking through the veil of illusion, the veil of separation, breaking through that to recognizing that we are one with God. Now, all of us, and I want you to think about this, what is your spiritual practice that you do every single day? Because we need a spiritual practice, because we can get sucked into, you know, the collective consciousness has created a normalcy of fear, separation. And if we don't do our work, we're going to fall right back into the fear, the lack of trust, the separation, the anger. We're going to fall right there. In fact, I bet we have today, because it's got this lure that it wants us to fall back there, and we have to have the power. So we can have intentional breakthroughs, which we want to do and participate in. That's our spiritual practice. That is prayers of silence, meditation, contemplation, prayers of chanting, mantras, spiritual readings. They can be consciously letting go of what we know is no longer good for us, letting go of what is no longer good for our mind or our heart, but just letting go. I talked a few weeks ago about Rabbi Heschel, and when he was marching with Martin Luther King in Selma, that he felt his feet were praying. I just challenge us this week to, when we're walking, just letting go. Even if you just shake your hands a little bit or just do a little, let go of the things that no longer work for us, so we can create the space. All of those. Meister Eckhart says the inner wealth is inner silence, and all of those create an inner silence. And in that inner silence, there cannot be duality, because that's the place where God lives. Oneness is. So we need to create that space where wisdom, that wisdom in us all, that magnificence, that knowingness, that we know so much more inside than we do in our minds, that knowingness can talk to the heart, and we can be guided. Okay, just how many of you do some sort of spiritual practice intentionally? All of us do. Good. But then there's those unplanned breakthroughs. Those are the hardest ones. They can be an unplanned illness, if they ever are. They can be a death of someone you love, a financial struggle, a loss, a difficulty in your life. Those unplanned breakthroughs that bottom us out. We're bottomed out. We don't even know what to do. It's not like our intentional spiritual practice. We don't even know what to do, and I know we have all been there. And I tell you, sometimes the only thing we know how to do is breathe. And you know what? Breath and God is like our breath. In fact, in some languages, spirit and breath are the same word. We breathe unconsciously because our breath is always with us. And usually we can't see it unless it's really cold outside. We can see it sometimes, or when we blow out a candle or something like that. But we can't see our breath, but it's always with us. And that's the same with spirit. It's always there. And that's why breathing can get us back into knowing there is something so much more at work. Life is filled with diversity. You know, when we dive deep to get to know that oneness with God, that oneness with life, how many times do you run into a bunch of feelings and emotions that you really weren't planning to run into at the time? Do you ever go there, you try to meditate and you're going, and you're wiggling and you're writing down notes and you can't get there because there's something that wants to be released and told. Do you know, I was reading an article, now I don't know if it's really true, but it sounded really amazing, so I thought I'd share it, but I can't say it's true, that a human can have 34,000 different emotions. God, I'm tired with just 2, or 3 or 4. But that's a lot. But those emotions all have a reason and a purpose in our life. And I'm going to read. And again, this is nothing new. This was from another one of our wonderful 12th, 13th century mystics that also has 4 letters in his name. And it starts with an R and it ends with an I and it has a U-M in the middle. But I'm not going to tell you who it is. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for something entirely new, a new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Everything comes to us for a reason and a purpose. What Julian of Norwich invited us to do was to mingle the woe and the well, to mingle the dark and the light, the sadness and the joy, not meaning to mingle them and fall into the depression or the sadness or the unhappiness or the misery or the fear or the anger or the pain, not to fall into it, to own it and be aware of it, but then to remember, just as I said before in her reading when she said, all is well and all shall be well, to understand that behind all brokenness, behind all of our brokenness, no matter the rising or the falling or whatever's going on, no matter what, we are held in the arms of God. We are held in the arms of love. We cannot not be, because that's what it's all created. It's all the one. That's happening no matter what's going on inside of us. And if we can remember that, we won't fall into the muck. We'll be able to move through it and be awakened to a new understanding and a new awareness about ourselves and about life. I want each one of us, what I'd like each one of us to do today, to just leave here today with the intention to start living in non-dualism, start tasting it, start understanding it. Which means, well, Julian of Norwich said the soul, our own human soul, only really has two jobs to perform. To look for the awe and surprise and wonder in life. That sounds fun, huh? And then she said to let go and let be, to consciously let go of the things that keep you stuck, that keep you down. That in this whole process where we're supposed to be on an upward spiral of evolution, and if we're sinking too far down, we need to be doing things that get us lifted up. The one thing I know how to do that keeps me going is when I wake up in the morning, I choose what I want to see. I want to look for love, maybe. If I'm feeling a little low on that, I want to look for things that are loving. Or maybe I want to look for peace if I feel a little agitated or unsettled. Or maybe I want to look for things that are in harmony if I feel out of balance. But even before you get yourself out of bed in the morning, we want to be looking for that which will make us be more in alignment with the one. So right now, will you just join me as we close this part of our Adventure in Spirit program, by tasting the non-dualism, which is the oneness of God and Spirit, by opening our hearts and minds and actually intentionally letting go of any of the thoughts that keep us sinking and stuck and Lord, and lifting ourselves up to the omnipotence and omnipresence of God, of Spirit, of oneness right here and now, where we know that we are part of the whole. We are interbeings. We are here to be connected to each other. We're part of the everyone. When we're making a place for everyone, we're part of the pack. We're making a place for ourselves, our joy and our sorrow, our love and our hurt. We're making a place for it and knowing there's so much more. There is something more that wants to be lived through us right here and right now as we open up to the allness, the oneness of our life and share that with a life of one another. There's a place for us to be alive in spirit, to be alive in life, whether we're sitting in solitude and contemplation, in prayer, or we're out in the world living and being and experience the wonder and the beauty, or we're sitting in sadness and despair. We know that all is well. All shall be well. Goodness is here for us. And as we leave today, we feel ourselves surrounded and held in the arms of love, the arms of light, the wisdom and joy of God right here, right now, and always. We close this prayer this morning right now before our beautiful second song by knowing that we are loved, we are loving, and right now we make ourselves so lovable by receiving the gifts that are continually being given right here, right now, and always. We say thank you, God. And so it is. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.